Are you trapped in a job where absolutely everything, but everything really depends on it? Not only just your income, but also your family and your home and your status in life. And in that job, you're feeling out of place. And not only just your income, but also your family and your home and your status in life. And
Hey everybody, how's it going? Matt Williams, Mr. MPW. Welcome to this week's aviation show. I hope you're all doing well, staying happy and healthy. And for those of us in England, I hope some of you have managed to get out and hopefully enjoy the weather this week and get some flying done. So there we go. As always, please let me know when you can hear us okay. Make sure the levels are okay. I'll keep those balanced as we go. And yeah, we got a few cool guests on tonight. We've got Sean from GEEKSVANA. I'm not quite as good at this at the moment as Sean is on the live thing, but he is in the chat right now, so make sure you go over and support his channel, and we'll get him on in a couple of minutes to talk about this week's drone news and what he's been up to. But yeah, he's going live at 9:15 tonight as well, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the chat, but go and support Sean from GEEKSVANA. And then after that, we have got quite exciting for us tonight. We've got Pete Arias, the film drone pilot, one of, if not the most experienced film drone pilots in the world. We're very lucky to have Pete on. He's kind of a friend of the, as it was, the Ayriss family, the UAVHUB family as it is now, a personal friend of mine as well, and we've done some work together in the past, and he's very kindly agreed to do his hair for us, despite the lockdown haircut, and come on to chat to us. And yeah, so please start sending your questions in for Pete. Anything you want to know, that, you know, Pete really is the guy to ask those questions of. Just saying hi to a few people. We've got Winterblue FPV, the first lurker. He's asked us to give a shout out for his channel as well. So if you haven't already, go and check out his channel. A lot of FPV stuff going on in there. Fairly new to it, but welcome. Kevin Brandwood, good to see you. Terrestrial Reconnaissance, William. Tonight's sip was dry vermouth, sweet vermouth, gin, and a slice and ice. It's a quarantini. Very good, sir. Very good. Mine is an apple and blackcurrant squash. And very nice it is too. Although I think it was left over from the kids in the playroom when we tied it up. So there we go. PG Ariel, good to see you. John Mansfield, nice to see you. I've not seen you in before. That's good. Steve Fuller, thank you. Another great institution, very kind words. Thank you. AirTech Images. Oh, well, Davis, come on, I'm hovering here. Yeah, sorry about that. Robbie, good to see you. Smeged, oh, yes, Smeged's here. Desmond Stonders, nice to see you. Come over from the GEEKSVANA channel, I think. Spotted you in the GEEKSVANA chat. Steve Chapman, Cam Wings, good to see you. James, David Cherryman, all good, first time from you, and welcome to the channel, welcome to the show. So there we go, right, great stuff. Oh, Big G as well is in here, Neil Poyner, keep well, look forward to all the streams, keep up good work, thank you very much. Didn't get Spag on the t-shirt, no, I'm going to show you this t-shirt. If anyone hasn't seen Friday Night Dinner yet on Channel 4, it is epic, right? This is Jim, for those of you who have seen it before. Shalom. Very, very funny programme. And yeah, another epic t-shirt purchase from... There he is. Yeah, Robbie Mortlock gets it. Airview, thank you. Yes, we are actually... Airview's just saying he likes the epic sim setup that we've got. You're actually inside the simulator right now. I've got the side screens on here, so you can probably see those reflect on my hands. The big screen at the back, microphone here, the yoke just in front of me, and when I move that, it's going to wobble the camera and stuff because the camera is inside the cockpit. So yeah, it's quite a lot to manage, but yeah, it is pretty epic. For those of you who haven't seen, there have been quite a few things that we've announced on the channel over the last week or so. We are taking it more aviation based, and we've started to do some simulator stuff As part of that, I'm doing a world's fastest home PC X-Plane 11 simulator computer build this weekend, so that'll be coming to the channel next week. Just waiting on the final pieces of that to arrive, but we should have one of the first, well, it was meant to come today and be the first retail Intel i9 10900K processor, but unfortunately it's got caught up in the mail, so that's coming tomorrow. I'll be getting the build done over the weekend, and that'll be dropping into the sim, so that's quite a big win. So it's going to be a pretty epic sim setup, not that it isn't already, but yeah, so we've got that coming and a bunch of other stuff. And next week we have got an airline pilot hopefully coming on as the special guest, so you'll see a bit of drone and aviation split. And from what I've seen, you know, in the Discord server, lots of people are interested in me starting to go and do some of that aviation learning as well. So if you do want to see that, let me know. I'm here and able to do it. It's not just drones. Hopefully those of you are aware, and if you're not, go and watch the interview that I did with Sean over on GEEKSVANA on his channel on Tuesday evening. It seems like I'm spending more time with Sean Hickey at the moment than I am with my with Mrs. MPW, but there we go. It's probably for the best. Right, so yeah, the big one I think that we dropped today, and it's been actually our biggest video of all time, strangely, the Mavic Mini. The Mavic Mini, by the looks of things, according to the new regulations, when they come into effect on the 1st November, will be, as I've said all along, the ultimate drone if that thing can get you the data that you need. And what's even better now is that not only will it be an awesome drone, you don't need any qualifications whatsoever, which is scary and amazing at the same time. All you need to do is read the manual and do the Drone and Model Aircraft Registration Education Scheme, the DMARS. And yeah, that's all you need to do, which is pretty epic, really. It's going to be a very interesting tool to add into your toolbox. So if you haven't seen that already, please go and watch that video after this. And also, please go, and I'm going to make a little plea here. I did a video the other day about the Blue Angels and kind of talked about my bird strike in Baghdad. If you haven't seen that, please go and watch it. If you have seen it, please go and share it into the forums and groups, because it's a message that we, in particular, those of us who, you know, you're dedicated enough to come and watch the aviation show, please go and share that into all the channels. Right, I'm going to call Mr. Sean Hickey from GEEKSVANA. Let's get him teed up and get him on to see what he spotted in the drone news over the last few days before he goes live. Hello, sir. How are you?
I will turn my microphone on. There you go.
No, that's better. I was going to say, I can't hear you. No, what's going on?
Regulars of my stream will know that I do that nearly every single week, just because the way I run the software, my mic's always live.
Yeah.
So I have to mute it for my beginning music, so you don't hear me screaming at a cat that's escaped into the studio or something.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Always fun. So it's always on red, unfortunately.
That's it. Yeah, we got Smeg in, and he's like, mic off again. Lol.
Yeah. There you go. My usual trick.
Very good, mate. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all right, thank you. I've been for a run not long ago, so I've got a right dab on. Yeah, I know it'll never catch on, right? Can't be good for you.
It is so warm, actually. I've got a fan on. I hope that's not interfering with my sound. I've got a directional mic, so I'm hoping it isn't too noisy for you.
No, you're getting away with it, mate. You're getting away with it.
Awesome.
So yeah, what have you spotted in this week's drone news, sir?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been an interesting week, obviously, with your Mavic Mini story today, which was one that most of us were really waiting for after it was previewed on my channel in the interview that something was coming with the Mavic Mini.
Yeah.
I did actually order one today, completely coincidentally.
Nice.
Just because I think it's something that I could get some use from, and I want to do some channel comparisons with the Mavic Air 2 and that type of thing. One piece of positive drone news, actually, which we covered this week in our drone show, was the I don't know if you saw Robert Omrod's work, where he's a qualified PfCO. I think he might even be an OSC. Or he's gained OSCs in the past.
Okay.
And he moved from a flat with no garden into a house with a garden just before lockdown. And he basically got together with his neighbors and then some other people that he met online. And he's taken his drone and taken photos above their garden whilst they set up funny scenes below. Wow. There's ones of people's barbecues exploding, fake exploding, and that type of thing, and people playing cricket with the neighbours watching over the wall, and it's it's a really fantastic piece of art, frankly, and I think it's obviously going to be so rare to be able to capture something like that. I think it's really positive that it was done with a drone and done within the regulations as well, of course.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. If you've got a link to that, if you
yes,
wouldn't mind sharing that into the chat afterwards, that'd be good, and everyone go and check that and go support their channel as well. That'd be
yeah,
really
indeed.
cool.
It's fantastic. He's done some other stuff like that before, and in the Guardian article that I'll share in the chat afterwards, there's a link to his site, and there's a few things he's been very creative with drones in the past, which is obviously quite exciting. Otherwise, of course, we've had the X-37B was featured on our channel this week with the Space Force, as they're now called, launching their drone plane up into Earth's lower orbit. But that was quite an interesting one, actually. Some more of the details that they've released, partly from previous directors of the program that have now left, that perhaps can say more and that type of thing. But the drone actually does an egg-shaped orbit. Okay. Which I've not heard before, and as that egg shape comes very close to the Earth, it means that the 29-foot craft is able to turn where it is. So basically, it can continuously change its path in orbit, and of course keep all of the people wanting to look for it guessing where it is, which is quite exciting.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, that thing, because I mean the program, from what we know that's in the public kind of domain, has actually been going on for a long time, and they've had it up for ages, haven't they? Like,
that's right,
really long.
7,865 days in orbit in total.
Crikey.
And it was started. It used to be the X-40, and then it was the X-40B. It's always been Boeing related. Boeing have always been there, somewhere in there. NASA launched the X-37 program in 1999, but then transferred it to the Department of Defense in 2004. Because of course the projects that were happening on board became a little bit more sort of intelligence related, rather than just how long does a potato survive in space. That type of thing. But it's also interesting from a futures point of view that they had a satellite built by the United States Air Force Academy. Built a satellite which is being deployed, the Falcon Sat 8, with five deployable payloads just on that satellite. So it sounds like there's an awful lot going on up there. Very exciting.
Yeah, that's it. And for those who don't know as well, I mean, obviously, you've got the Space Force, which is the US Air Force kind of space program. Yes. At the same time, the Royal Air Force launched their space program, kind of almost concurrently, but obviously totally separate, or so we understand at the moment.
Yeah. And allegedly.
Yeah, that's it. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And for those who maybe aren't aware, there's very, very good ISS passes over the next week as well. There was an incredible pair of passes last night.
Yes.
Over the UK. But it's
phenomenal. And of course, SpaceX are going to be taking the first astronauts up to the ISS, aren't they? It'll be the first private company. And the astronauts have arrived in their pre-session already for that. So very exciting. And it's exciting to get the word drone in there somewhere as well, with the X-37B technically being an unmanned aircraft. So it's interesting to see just how far the unmanned thing can be pushed.
That's it. And we think of the drones as now the small aircraft that we fly, but I mean, we didn't use the word drone when we first started flying the model helicopters with cameras on, when we first started flying drones, because of the military connotations, and I think that's disappeared now, which is a good thing. But we've got to be careful it doesn't come back potentially with the.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And also as things change in the next 15 to 20 years, 10, 15, 20 years with the delivery drones and that type of thing, where not everyone's going to like those. So the word drone in that as well is potentially going to have some negativity towards the hobby, if the hobby exists in 20 years, of course.
Yeah, that's it.
Controversial.
To be honest, I think in my kind of manned aviation world, I think we're going to start seeing, not in the commercial sector, because I think people will always want a pilot or pilots up front in the aircraft.
Yes, I hope so.
That's it, right? Especially for yourself, right? As someone who doesn't particularly enjoy flying.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think particularly in the military world, why risk very experienced and talented personnel that you've spent a lot of money and a lot of time training?
Yeah.
I mean, Eurocopter, I was kind of part open to a program that was a fully autonomous or fully controllable unmanned version of
Absolutely.
their latest aircraft, and you think that is an incredible, like, as a utility machine, to drop stuff into the middle of
well, and there's the new Boeing, isn't there, which is down in Australia, the something wingman, the long something wingman, which we've actually got a video coming out on early next week, which is essentially that you have one fighter aircraft manned, and he will have 5 around him that are drones. And can send them only at about 60% of his size. They're still quite large things that are able to carry decent payloads.
Yep.
And he'll then send them off to go, what's that over there? And this one will go on that mission. This one will be on Overwatch. But again, as you say, I like that kind of program, not from the military aspect, but from the aspect that there's still a highly skilled pilot making judgment calls within that. He'll still be the leader whilst it's out there. He'll still be in command, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. And like you say, it's, that's what we're here for. It's drones, it's aviation, it's everything. And it's funny because I think those of us who are really into it, and hopefully for all of those of you who are watching as well, there's loads of interesting comments coming out, but hopefully it's not just drones, it's the whole piece, right? It's the space and the planes and everything. So no, that's awesome.
and drones are part of aviation, and I think so many of us have interests at different ends of the spectrum, that but our peaks are up and down depending on our own histories and depending on our own interest levels, etc. I love aviation, but I don't know about actually being inside them.
Yeah. We're going to change that, mate. When I get flying
hence
again,
I love drones.
I'm going to get you flying. That's my mission. Is to get Sean up in the air. That's it. No messing around. No messing around.
that will certainly be a video. Yeah.
That's it. Well, mate, thank you ever so much for joining us again. It's much appreciated. And yeah, everyone, give Sean a follow. Go and watch the show that they've got on tonight. 21:15. They're going live British Summer Time. What's the content tonight?
It's actually a follow-up on the Microdrone 4 story, which was a crowdfunding campaign that's had its problems, and we're having a bit of a meet up with the backers, update them on a few things, come up with a few ideas to push things forward, basically. So hopefully get some people some refunds or some kind of resolution, basically.
Excellent, good stuff. Yeah. All right, then, mate. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And I look forward to catching up with you next week.
Yep, speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. See you soon. There we go. So thank you, as always, to Sean for joining us. I know it's never easy doing that just before you're about to go live yourself. Just over to the chat before we dive into speaking to Pete. What have we got? The situation with legacy drones for use in the specialist category under EASA regs, please. Will they be allowed for longer than 2 years? Andy Green. Yes, they will. If you have a PfCO or an operational authorization, as it will be, whether you've done the GVC or the PfCO is almost irrelevant. If you've got an operational authorization and you're flying under that in the specific category, if you have an OSC, which effectively will be an operational authorization with better permissions on it, then the legacy drone thing should, as far as we understand it, not be a problem. You'll be able to continue to operate those legacy drones because you have better permissions than people who are operating in the open category. And it's really the open category that the legacy drones are affected by. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know. Robbie Mortlock, Matt, did you see the YouTube on the Blue Angel vid showing the possibility of it being fake? I've seen lots of those, and for me, it absolutely looked real. There was no CG involved in that shot from the drone. In my opinion, either way, it made for a great talking point. And if it turns out to be fake, brilliant. I don't think it was, but if it did, then that's all the better for those of us who are around, like that one where it was a CG one where it was something like an S900, S1000 that hit the wing of an aircraft on climb out that was faked. At least it got us talking about it and hopefully made people aware of it. Steve Fuller, Matt, can you clear up the issue of launching from a public footpath? CA and DFT might be okay with it, but there are property laws, public liability of the landowner to consider. ultimately, the CAA and the DFT don't care really where you take off and land from, provided, because it's not in their remit, right? It's not in their jurisdiction. It's up to you to make sure that you are not committing, a crime or a criminal or civil offence by trespass or by breaking local bylaws, potentially taken off from that public footpath. So it's not something we've ever done. We've always made sure we've got permission from whoever owns the land, and that is the key. That has come out of the PfCO wording lately. You don't have to have landowners' permission anymore necessarily, because the CAA can't demand you, or they can't dictate that you have that, but it's on you to make sure that you do have that permission, because from a non-CAA perspective you could end up in a lot of trouble potentially. Corridor Digital, Master and 3D Effects have said they think it's real. Yeah, I fully agree. I think Corridor Digital were the guys that XJet reached out to, and that was it. First flyover by SpaceX was excellent from Sean. Yes, it was. We watching the Starlink take off a few weeks ago live on their web feed, and then watching the actual payload, the Starlink payload, separate from the second stage was over the top of us, was something we'll never see again, I guess. Big G, on the commercial side, I'm thinking of upgrading my Mavic Pro to the Mavic Pro 2 Pro or Zoom. Which is best to switch to for survey and photography work? If you're going to choose one for survey and photography work, it's a bit awkward, because I would automatically say get the Zoom because you've got the Zoom, but you can't use at the moment the Mavic 2 Zoom with things like drone deploy, as far as I'm aware. It can't control the camera, so it's the Pro, I think, for that, if that's the kind of thing you want to do. Anthony Rather, welcome to the channel. The human is supposed to be the ultimate safety backstop, and unfortunately overly automated planes can override the human and cause catastrophic accidents. Absolutely. And quite often the accidents, unfortunately, are human factors related in the highly autonomous aircraft that we have now, even when there are people there, because they don't understand the system or they're not interpreting what the system's telling them properly. There we go. Yeah, someone, PG Ariel, thank you. Pro for photography and Zoom for inspection. That's actually my thoughts, to be honest. I don't think one of those tools, if you're going to buy one, it's got to be the Pro, the Mavic 2 Pro. If you can get both, then Zoom for inspection, Pro for photography, exactly as you've said. That's in there. Cheers, Sean. Bye, Sean. I have to pick one. Go Mavic 2 Pro. Right, thanks everyone. Cool. There we go. Good stuff. Right. I'm going to call Pete Arias. Drop your questions in for Pete. We will have a chat to him as soon as he picks up. So here we go. Yes. Here we go. Here he is, the hero.
Well, not quite. I wouldn't put it like that.
How you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm really good. I'm just, chilling out at home like everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So yeah, this is Pete, the film drone pilot from thefilmdronepilot.com. A very busy man who is very ridiculously experienced, and like I say, we're very lucky and privileged to have him on the channel. So thanks for agreeing to come on, mate.
No, not at all. My pleasure.
We've got kind of questions that I've got that people have sent in. I can see your monthly planner behind you. It looks very busy.
That's well, okay. So full disclosure, that's actually my partner's monthly. So mine's entirely digital,
Of course it is. Of course it is. So, mate, like I say, very, very experienced. Could you, just because a lot of the people, most of the people who kind of watch the show, want to ultimately get to the position that people like yourself have managed to get yourself to, right? Like, and we'll come on to it in a bit where, hopefully we can go through your IMDb, right? What you can remember of it. But
okay.
And but what's your background? Like, where did your journey start? Because that's, I think, starting there and working your way up to where you are now is probably the thing that's most interesting and useful for people. So over to you.
I mean, okay, so many, many years ago, my dad, total legend, as I suppose everyone's dads are, taught me to fly model airplanes. I would go with him to the field all the time and go and help him out, and just pestered and pestered and pestered until eventually he taught me to fly. and that's been a lifelong obsession for me for 25 years or something. It's been ridiculous. So, and I've been using my lockdown time to build model airplanes and gliders, and I've been flying this week as well. But basically, yeah, just a lifetime of flying model airplanes and helicopters, and eventually, when I taught myself to fly model helicopters, which was actually in my parents' living room back in the day.
Yep.
The little fixed pitch machine, which was cool.
Yep.
I was encouraged by some friends of mine to start to compete. So I started to compete doing model helicopter aerobatics, very much sort of UK based. And we'd drive around the country, just a whole group of people just going to events and competing and having a real laugh. And then picked up sponsors and did more international stuff. And at the peak, I would say, which was probably 6 or 7 years ago, I was factory supported by a company called Thunder Tiger, and they're fabulous machines. They were amazing. And we did all sorts of demos and over at the World Championships and did competitions, and I did fun flies around the country, and I would just hand people my radio and say, here, try it out. And, and we sold so many machines, it was ridiculous. It was like the machine we were flying was the E720. It was like the Raptor 90 latest electric version, and the best-selling machine that they had, until unfortunately the distributor was taken over, and we all lost our deals. But so yeah, I mean, a lifetime of flying model airplanes and helicopters, and then I was working in my local hobby shop, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
not my fault. It doesn't exist anymore, but a customer of mine heard that the shop was closing down, and he came and said, Pete, I've got this idea for an aerial photography company. Do you want to come and work with me? And so that was probably 7-8 years ago now, and I've been flying drones ever since. And basically, just through meeting the right people, knowing the right people, being in the right place at the right time, I've been exposed to amazing places, amazing sets, projects, and flying really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, almost entirely right place at the right time, and filling a need at the time for a comfortable pair of hands to fly something that was expensive and difficult to fly. And you know, I've just sort of dug my heels in and carried on. Really, that's basically it.
That's it. So no, thank you for sharing that. And it's funny how I think those of us who have kind of, I suppose we can say it, right, that are at the top of the game, and doing those kind of things, all have very similar backgrounds, I would say. In general, we've all been flying model aircraft since we were kids. Exactly the same journey with me. Like, I did it with my dad, because I begged him to kind of take me to the local flying field. Eventually did. He loved it. I loved it, and it grew together. We did it together. That was the thing that we did. And yeah, very similar into helicopters. A bit of competition, nothing like the kind of competition levels you did. We couldn't pick up a sponsor in Stoke, and and then obviously I went down the manned route, and you carried on doing that. And yeah, I think that's very interesting, because a lot of people jump into it and think that by getting the right kit, and there is an element of it, right, where you can get the kit and you can do the networking, but
and you turn up, you're not gonna get the job in the first place, because requirements are really specific these days. Like a project want a specific camera, or the ability to carry a specific camera and a specific lens and what have you. So I mean, if you haven't got the right kit, then you definitely won't even get in the door.
Yeah.
But just by, like you say, just by having the right kit doesn't necessarily mean that once you are in the door, you're going to keep the job.
Yeah. I think that balance is something that we try and tell people about, and it's so difficult to do, because the opportunity, it's catch-22, isn't it? How do you get the experience and afford the kit that you need without having the kit and having the experience? But you've got to, if you're desperate to do this and you want to get to the level that you've managed to get to, you've got to get out there and practice and practice and practice. And I mean, I dare say it's the same for you, but bent more model helicopters, model aeroplanes than we've taken. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back in in the Thunder Tiger days when I was factory supported, I had a huge plastic box full of spares that would go everywhere with me. It would go whenever I went to another country. It would go with me. When I went to a fun flight, it would go with me. Mainly because, I mean, for example, I'll tell you a story. I was at the World Championships and we did a demonstration in the pouring rain. And you know, just to keep the crowd entertained, they were like, you know, will you go and do a demo in the rain? I'm like, yeah, sure, no worries. So someone was holding an umbrella over me to keep my transmitter dry, but the model was absolutely soaking wet.
Yeah.
And I completely had a brain moment and stuffed it in hard onto this tarmac runway. It was an air, like hard, and this thing and nitro helicopters, when they crash hard, often the throttle gets stuck wide open, so this thing's crashing itself to death on a concrete runway. Rotor blades have gone. It's like so me and a mate went running down the runway to go and basically pull the fuel line off, or stamp on it, or you do something. You hit it with a broom, throw a coat on it, try and stop it. And within an hour and a half, it was flyable again. Just, you know, put spares on it. And it's a virtually brand new machine. You know, just it's all spares. And of course, one thing I did do, because I was in a very privileged position to be supported by the manufacturer. If somebody had the same machine or a machine that a spare would be suitable for, I'll just pass spares out. Yeah, you know, I like to see people keep flying. So if they're struggling and they need a part, then there you go, take it off mine.
Yeah, nice.
That was quite nice. But I've actually got a box. I used to save all the aluminium parts that were bent, and obviously I wouldn't straighten them and reuse them. I'd just put a new one on.
Yeah.
And I've got a big box in my workshop that's full of Thunder Tiger aluminium parts that aren't usable.
Nice. You should give those away as little gifts. Like,
yeah, maybe. Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
I've got a swash plate. I'll make sure you get a swash plate.
Oh, yes. Just direct from the film drone pilots.
There you go. I won't photograph it or anything. It will be worthless then.
Oh. That's awesome. Well, mate, so what is, because people, you know, we've had the question, the biggest question that's come in is, what is the coolest thing? Well, we've had two come in, right? What's the coolest thing you've done, like the coolest gig you've worked on that you're allowed to tell us about?
Okay.
So do that one first.
Well, I mean,
so many.
there's really cool moments. I mean, I would say first place is kind of tied. Okay. So. Being a freelance drone pilot, I'm very lucky to work with many operators, and so quite a few years ago now, I was working with a company called the Helicopter Film Services, and they took me to Germany, and we shot Captain America: Civil War in Germany.
Nice.
So we were in Berlin, and we went to a city called Leipzig, and we went to the Leipzig International Airport, where we were allowed to fly airside on the pan around an Airbus that the production had rented. Massive 4-engine Airbus thing. I don't know what it was. But so we're flying around the pan, and I'm given very specific instructions. They say, these are the lines on the ground. They denote how far you can go. If you cross those lines, you're getting arrested. I'm like, okay. That's fine. Keep it in the lines. And the production came to me and they said, okay, so we've got this shot that we need, and it was the visual effects department. And I'm sure everybody's seen that movie. It's out now, so no spoilers. But Spider-Man's in that movie, and they needed a Spider-Man swing from up at the fin on this Airbus down underneath the wings between the engines and then back up the other side.
Right.
So they come to me and they say, can you do that? And I'm like, well, I mean, technically, yes, I can. But are we insured to do that? Because I have no idea. Like, this is an Airbus. Like, what's the insurance value of an Airbus? So I'm like, okay, well, we can. And so I'm obviously thinking, okay, well, if we get a lockout sort of halfway under the wing, it's going to try and go up through this wing between these engines. So I'm like, okay, well, that's obviously a risk. And so we basically just, you know, bat these risks backwards and forwards, and everyone's like, it's fine, you're insured, go for it.
Crack on.
So we went for it, and that was kind of cool. I really enjoyed that. So that's right up there with with some of the coolest stuff. And but sort of tied first place was a film called Ready Player One.
Yep.
Which I at the time I didn't really know the story.
Okay.
I wasn't really privy to it. I hadn't read the book.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie. I've read the book. Amazing story. Go and see it. Go and read it. Get the audiobook. Will Wheaton's narrating it, and it's fantastic.
Amazing.
But I mean, I got to work with the big man himself, Steven Spielberg.
Nice.
And one of the most surreal moment was we were in a night shoot in London, and it's sort of outskirts of London in suburbs somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm, as you're aware, with an aerial unit, they only need you for very specific moments, and so we're waiting for the call. Everything's ready, set up, good to go. Yeah. And I sleep in the back of the van. I'm laying down in the back of the van, just asleep because it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Life on an aerial unit.
Sorry?
Life on an aerial unit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just, more sleeping than working.
Yeah.
But, an AD comes and knocks on the van and says, "Oh, is Pete around?" I'm saying, "Yeah, I'm Pete." Like, blurry-eyed, not quite awake. And he says, "Oh, Mr. Spielberg would like to speak to you." I'm like, okay. So wake myself up, wander over onto set, and I'm introduced. And he says, "Oh, hi, I'm Stephen." And I'm like, "Oh, hi, I'm Pete." And he starts talking to me about what he needs. Like, incredible guy, amazing guy. So such a great vision for what he wants. Very clear with how he describes it, and he's open to suggestion as well, which is fantastic. So they're kind of up there with my two favorites, I think. But there's so many cool moments and cool places that I've flown that they're all right up there. I love them all, but it's they're sort of the two that stick out for me as the favorites.
Nice. It's very funny, isn't it, how certain ones just you have those moments where you're like, what am I doing with my life? How have I ended up here right now? You're like, one point you say Steven Spielberg, and I don't know, have you worked with J.J. Abrams on anything?
Yes,
you will have done on a couple of things, I think.
He was directing the Star Wars movie that just came out, and I did some work on that with them. Cool. We put a film camera on that as well. That was really cool.
Nice. I've done one shot with him where he was like over our shoulder watching the monitors that we're watching. You're like, what is going on right now? And it's funny, isn't it, because those people they're absolute legends. You can see why they've ended up where they are, because they've gone through that first AD phase where they've first AD arsehole, and and they've just, there's so much in a totally different league of their own. But
just amazing to work with some of these legends. I mean, I got to work with Lana Wachowski, who did The Matrix, and she was amazing. Like, she's such a legend. And we were working on a Netflix series called Sense8 that she was directing, and I think it was like a passion project for her. Yeah. And we were in Italy, in a place called Positano, and we've been doing a few different things around the world. We've done Berlin. We went to Africa, to Nairobi for that as well. And it got to the point we'd been working with this production for a little while, and she would just say, "Oh, Pete," and like come and give. And then the next minute, when the shot's not gone quite as well as she would hoped, or it's not what she she visualized. Yeah. She doesn't talk to you, so it's just super weird, but very cool. You have to pinch yourself sometimes working with some of these people.
Yeah, mate, that's so cool. And the other one then, before we wrap up, before I let you you go off and have your evening to yourself, what is the worst moment that you've had during the job? There's so many.
Well, I mean, it's obviously it's terrible when you have kit failure. Yeah. You never like to not be able to deliver. So I would say, I mean, probably the worst one, we were shooting Assassin's Creed, the movie, in Malta. Yes. And the aircraft I was flying at the time, we'd been flying it for 2 weeks solid, and it was totally fine. And then suddenly it decided it wanted to fly inverted. And drove itself into the floor 6 feet from where I was standing, flat out.
God, yeah.
It was just insane. And then, so that's really bad. And then the next time you fly, you're flying another aircraft which is identical in, you know, a city centre, and you're like, I'm not sure I'm entirely confident.
Do I trust this?
But that really made me question whether I wanted to actually carry on doing this, because I mean,
Really?
one, it was totally. It was a big moment. I mean, first it nearly killed me. It was, you know, it was really close.
Yeah.
You know, it's all very well keeping people outside of your area, but you're in your area, and you have to be very careful with your own safety as well. And it really highlighted to me, when you're flying big, heavy equipment, the power that's in it as well.
Yeah.
And this thing decided it wanted to kill itself, and there's not a thing I could do about it. Absolutely not a thing. It decided it started to rock, and within 3 oscillations, it was inverted. And obviously the barometric air pressure sensor, which keeps its altitude, was active. And as it started to descend, it said, "Oh, I need to add power."
Yeah.
So it added power. It started to descend faster and said, "I'm still descending. I need to add more power." And so it basically wound up to full throttle as it drove itself into the floor.
Jesus.
And that was a big moment. And I was like, do I really want to be doing this anymore? And it really shook me up. I had to go and take myself off and have a moment, because I was like, first of all, it nearly killed me, and secondly, do I really want to be responsible for this kind of kit if it can just do that?
Yeah.
Luckily, we found out what the problem was and we fixed it. But you know, it was big. You know, that's probably my least favorite moment, I think.
Interesting. No, thank you for sharing that, mate. Because this is the thing. I mean, again, a lot of people who are in this just, you know, they just haven't seen, or if they've seen, they've not experienced or you know, ever been around the drones of the size and the power and the weight that we've operated over the last, you know, 8 years or so now. And yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I had a similar moment on the America's Cup out in Bermuda, and nothing went wrong, but it was, you know, production. You know, we're chasing across the water, 45 knots. I'm strapped into the front of the boat, stood up, you know, getting splashed as we go, and production in our ears getting, get closer, get closer, get closer. And, you know, we were using the RSSI meter to make sure that, because there's so much Wi-Fi and comms coming off, and telemetry coming off those boats, and carbon fibre, and, you know, and it was just like,
and you have water as well. Obviously, water absorbs 2.4 gigahertz radio frequencies.
That's it.
Uses your range.
Yeah, and you just like, they got this impression, even though they saw the drone every day going back, getting alcohol wiped down and stuff because it was covered in salt water, you know, but they just had no idea how dangerous this thing was to be on a live race course and trying to get it 6 feet away from a boat that's racing, and you don't know when it's going to turn, you don't know where it's going to go, because they're making those decisions on the fly. It was, yeah, that for me was one of the ones where I was like, do you know what? I'm not. I'm. You're gonna have to pay me a lot of money to come back and do this shit again. Yeah. Is you know?
Yeah, I think what it gives you and I certainly is a healthy respect for the equipment, and for all the, you know, I'm hugely respectful of companies like DJI and the technology that they've produced, which allows people to do amazing things. You know, I saw a guy take a drone, you know, 7, 8, 9 kilometers and land on his roof of his house from a mountaintop and stuff. It's like, it's amazing. Like, from a technical achievement point of view, it's incredible. But at the same time, I never fly without the thought of, if this fails now, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because it's failed on me. And I really think, because drones are so reliable these days, you're off the shelf, ready to fly drones are so reliable. They're so good. There's almost a non-intentional complacency built in, because it worked last time. It's always worked. It's never let me down yet. Why would it let me down this time? And I feel like things like regulation changes that allow closer distances and things, I'm not a big fan of them, because, you know, I would say make the distances bigger, make it safer, you know, because these aren't man-rated systems. They don't have the same fail-safes. They don't have the same redundancies. You know, all of these quads, they're one propeller away from a horrific accident, you know. So that's my personal opinion, obviously. But you know, I feel like we have a healthy respect for the kit and what it can really do, because they are really dangerous bits of kit at the end of the day.
Yeah, they are, and even the small aircraft, and like I say, I get a lot of shit on the channel, to be quite honest, from people who are like, oh mate, it's just a little drone, what harm is it going to do? And you think, when you've seen the harm it can do, you would respect the harm it can do. So yeah, mate, loads of amazing comments coming in, everyone saying thank you, outstanding interview, Pete's a great guest, this is really interesting, this is great, Pete struck the nail on the head. So yeah, thank you for that. One that's come in, were you ever involved in any Bond movie? And if
Yes.
so, can you tell us?
I did Spectre. You can see the poster just there.
There it is, yeah.
And I did A Day in London on the one that's not yet been released. Again, flying a film camera with a 400-foot mag of 35mm film.
That's
That
so
was kind of
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
There's pictures of the aircraft that we used actually on my Instagram. You can check it out, and I got papped, which was amazing. I love getting papped.
That's a bit papping the paps. Oh yeah, mate. So speaking of your Instagram, then I will drop the links to your socials into the description of the video. I'll try and do that tonight. If not, I'll be getting that tomorrow. But if people want to find out more about you, if they want to kind of contact you, and if anyone out there, if any directors need someone to, who knows what they're doing and a safe pair of hands, where can people get hold of you?
So you can look at my website, which is thefilmdronepilot.com, all one word. Through Instagram, I've got a Facebook as well. You can just drop me a line, and I've got stickers as well.
Yes, I was going to say the stickers.
My logo is I really love my logo, and so I had loads of stickers made. They're really cool. There's one on the back of my laptop. But so if you want a sticker, I'll give them away. So if you want a sticker, then the only thing is, if you want a sticker, you have to stick it on something cool and send me a picture or tag me a picture on Instagram, and the coolest one will get like a t-shirt or something.
Nice, and I think that is a very, very fair exchange. So yeah.
Well, you'll get one for nothing. You don't have to stick it on anything else.
Oh, thanks, mate. Do you know what? I think I'm going to put it in the simulator right here next to the thing, and then whenever we do a sim video, the Film Drone Pilots logo will be in the sim. So
amazing.
There we go.
Can't ask for more.
That's it, mate. Loads of people saying, would you like to adopt a 40-year-old so he can follow you around? Thanks,
I'll
Pete.
add you to the list. I get so many. If I had £1 for every time someone asked if they could come with me on set,
you wouldn't need to fly drones anymore.
I wouldn't need to fly drones anymore. I pay my mortgage. But no, I mean, I'd love to take everybody, but it's not sometimes.
That's it. Well, mate, thank you ever so much. It's very much appreciated. Your insight into the industry and the world that a lot of people want to get into has been very much appreciated. And thank you for being part of the family and supporting us as you have done. It's a bit different than doing wind turbine reviews, eh?
No, that was fun. I did enjoy that.
That's it. But no, thank you ever so much, mate. Look after yourself. All the best, and I hope you can get out and get travelling around again to do what you need to do over the next few months. And
fingers crossed.
Yeah, look after yourself and fly safe, mate.
Yeah, everybody stay safe.
That's it. Cheers, dude. Take care.
Take care.
Catch you in a bit. Awesome. Well, there we go. That was Pete Arias. Total legend, as you can see, and a thoroughly nice gentleman as well. Please go and support Pete. I'm sure he'd much appreciate that. If there's certain things you want to know, then we can get Pete on again. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to come on. And I can see people asking for that. So there we go. Guys, I've just got a couple of minutes. Is there any questions that you guys have got? I haven't seen anything necessarily come up. Big GRC video, how can one get into the film industry? Who can you approach? Certainly from my perspective, and Pete again saying he was putting himself in the right place at the right time. For us, we went out and got the experience. We went out and networked. We got a show reel together that meant that we could demonstrate to people what we could do, and started to connect with the people who were loosely connected. And for us, a big part of it was getting an office at Pinewood, which didn't cost much money, if I'm honest. Didn't take much doing, but it's things like that, thinking a little bit outside the box, that mean that actually, for a little bit of effort, a little bit of investment, and that's the key, you can actually gain that momentum. And once you've got that momentum and set yourself out as an expert in that field, if you prove that you can do it well, then, you know, like you can see with Pete. And it's funny because a lot of people, particularly in the world we're in when we're doing the training, are like, well, it's not possible to make a career in the drone industry. That is a prime example of how you need to go about it and what you need to do. So there we go. So there we are. I think we're going to wrap it up there, 5 to 9. Thank you everyone for joining along. I hope you enjoyed this evening. Could I just ask you all to hit that like button before you go, please? And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, if you could click subscribe before you leave, that would be very, very, very much appreciated, because it really helps us out. The subscriber counts have gone up over the last few weeks in particular very quickly. That is allowing us to get the traction, to get bigger and better guests on, to get equipment kind of procured and sent to us, so that we can bring that to you on the channel. So as that grows, then we'll be able to keep doing this. And I'm really glad that I think we found a format that works for you all. I think we found a format that you like. As I say, next week we are planning, hopefully, depending on the person's schedule who I'm looking to get on, we've got drone stuff will be at the beginning, and then we've got an interview towards like the one we had with Pete, but it will be outside the drone industry, and it's from an airline pilot is what we're hoping to have. So bringing that kind of aviation side in. It'd be interesting to get their take on the drone side of things as well. So there we go. Have a brilliant week. Don't forget, like I say, please smash that like button. It takes a lot of doing to do this kind of stuff, and that's all we ask for. Sorry, excuse me. Is a quick like and a subscribe, and then share it wherever you want to see people. Chance for police drone pilot. Yep, I will speak to my contacts and try and get a police drone pilot in. That's a really good shout. Might try and line that up for next week. But stay tuned to the socials, guys. That's where we'll let you know who the confirmed guest is going to be. Bit of poor weather, I think, coming over the next couple of days, but then nice again for the bank holiday. So if you are able to, get out and stay safe. If you're not, then hopefully in the next week or so, looks as though most of the devolved governments are going to let people out. But there we go. So yeah, thank you ever so much. I've been Matt Williams. I'll catch you in the next one. Fly safe and blue skies.